And so we take this group of vets through 30 days before we even go to the jungle of Colombia to prepare them for what will be their encounter there. Then once there, we have an indigenous family that supports us in this ancestral work, in this plant medicine work of yahe, of ayahuasca. We go through 4 plant medicine ceremonies. We go through fire purification rituals. We go through music workshops. We have open talk dialogues. We have daily connections with divine source. We have daily workouts just to get back into our body, our mind, and our spirits.
I hate t-shirts that get floppy in the arms after 10 washes. So that's why I created a bunch of t-shirts with high quality cotton just for you so that you can go to the gym and look fresh, sport some philosophy, and smash those PRs looking good. So you need to head to davemorrow.net/merch, grab yourself a hat, grab yourself a t-shirt, grab yourself a sweater, and support the cause today. Hey folks, thanks for tuning in to another episode of the Hard to Kill podcast. I'm sitting down with Carlos and Ryan. Ryan's a repeat guest here on the podcast, but this is Carlos's first time, and we're going to be chatting about Op Purify. This is a new program that I was made aware of by Ryan, and Ryan's a good buddy of mine, and Carlos is helping set this all up. And I'm going to let Carlos take the ball from here and explain where he's coming from, what Op Purify is, and how you're going to be able to get involved. So, Carlos, welcome to the show. I really love the fact that you decided to take some time out of your day and chat about the awesome work that you're doing and the project that you're setting up here for veterans. So let's start with a bit of your background and how you got involved with this program.
Thank you, Dave. Well, first, it's a pleasure to be here. And you at home listening, thank you so much for giving us the time to share this with you. So my name is Carlos Durand. I was born and raised in New Jersey, first generation North American. My parents come from Cuba. They immigrated to the States several years ago, many years ago, before I was even born. I'm clocking 45 now. And I grew up in a Section 8 neighborhood. If you don't know what that is, it's basically a welfare neighborhood. My father, God bless his soul, was a prolific criminal. And my mother was his punching bag, but that's just a story. But so from there, as you can tell, a pretty violent upbringing. And at some point in time, I just, that's just not who I wanted to be anymore. And I began to search, and honestly, I turned to God. I just, with no frame of religion, just, if there's a God out there, I fucking need to know you, bro, because this is really bad right now. And that brought me to an evolution where I was taken out of the U.S. and I was moved to Costa Rica. And when I say taken out, just by by that quest that I was on, it brought me to Costa Rica. And there, on a 45-minute trek up the side of a mountain, with about an increasing drop off every time you went up, it was one of those small little mountain steps like you see in the movies. I met this indigenous man. His name is Taita Juanito. And he introduced me to the yahe culture. Yahe culture is the specific Colombian brew of ayahuasca. Ayahuasca is considered a psychedelic in modern society, but traditionally we call it a visionary plant. It is a purgative. It purges the mind, the body, and soul of trauma, stress, impacts. Through that evolution, I've ended up studying with this indigenous culture for 12 years. I spent a lot of my time actually in the Amazon with them. And one of the things that I've always had a calling to work on is with veterans, is to do something that supports. I have a deep respect. My parents fled a communist country. And, while there is no perfect system of governance in the world, the United States of America, as the republic it's intended to be, is an excellent system for living, for thriving, for sharing life. And veterans have sustained that despite all the bullshit of bureaucracy. And there's just a deep found love and respect in my heart If you believe in past lives, I mean, I guess it's hard as a vet, but so I have a very strong connection to everything that is related to combat, to life experiences in combat. And fortunately, in this lifetime, it was something that I was able to not engage in. But my heart still feels a calling and a draw to support the men and women that have offered their mind, their body, and their soul in the service of a greater good called their country and the protection of the Constitution as the Constitution of the United States of America. And right now, it's to me, in my humble opinion, it's a desperate time. I see more and more. Historically, soldiers have always been dismissed from society. For many years going forward, from the time when, anyway, Greek times, where you just historically soldiers are discarded after a certain age. When they can no longer perform the duty of a combat soldier, they're typically discarded. Right? It's a churn and burn kind of scenario. And right now, I feel that there is a calling in the world to support what is the virtue of life, the respect of life, the value of life. And I've come to understand that few people understand the value of life like those that have been put in the stress of military service. So in the desire to serve and support, we first started a program for men where we would take 15 men for 12 days into the jungle. And that's how Ryan came to be with us. And through that opportunity, the vision for Operation Purify was born. Operation Purify is 15 vets for 15 days. And this is mixed. This is available to men and women, both combat and non-combat vets. That's the only requirement is that you have performed military duty at some point in time, and you're more than welcome to join. What we do here is we have an integration process. At first, there's a 30-day preparation protocol where there's hands-on, live via Zoom preparation. Ryan is the military liaison for Operation Purify. And so we take this group of vets through 30 days before we even go to the jungle of Colombia to prepare them for what will be their encounter there. Then once there, we have an indigenous family that supports us in this ancestral work, in this plant medicine work of Yahe, of ayahuasca. We go through 4 plant medicine ceremonies. We go through fire purification rituals. We go through music workshops. We have open talk dialogues. We have daily connections with divine source. We have daily workouts just to get back into our body, our mind, and our spirits. Ryan, anything else you want to take off on that, brother? Because
well,
you're the other half of this.
Like the 4 elements, the tobacco ceremony, all the ceremonies that when you're there, the plant baths, the plant saunas, they just keep reminding you to go back to nature. Just keep going back to nature. Keep going back to nature can teach you a lot, so that, it's beyond all the other stuff. It's that it provides you a container, and a lot of that stuff, when you start seeing it, play out in real time, what I got from is, hey man, you could bring this stuff home with you. You can do it at home. You can have your ceremonies at home. Obviously, you're not going to be drinking yahe every day, but you can have your plant medicine ceremonies. You can use it. A lot of veterans use cannabis. A lot of veterans use psilocybin. I use hape. And you can use cannabis more deliberately. And so what a lot of this has taught me is, first of all, respect the plant medicine. Even tobacco, we've completely disrespected it, right? Just, and to respect the plant and use it with intention. And since I've learned that and come back, it's completely changed the way that I've used plant medicine in my life. And I just can't believe how many answers come from using it with that type of intent and sitting in silence with it, and letting the silent and letting and the answers come. The answers come from silence, right? When you calm the mind and you sit down and you use these medicines, properly, they really become, foundational in your life, and not to mention the container around. Look, I'll say this, and I I don't mean to downplay the medicine, but it's a supplement if you're not doing all the other stuff. People get focused on the medicine. Well, you're taking pharmaceuticals. Are you using this? Are you using that? And what I'm getting from the culture, this 5,000-year-old plant medicine is like, you better exercise, you better get some sun in your face, you better drink clean water, you better sleep well, you better get up and organize and be a man. The men's group, we're talking about be a man and organize yourself and look after your family. And it's a lot more than just going and drinking yahe and puking and shitting in the bush. And it's so much more deeper than that. Yeah.
So that was a great preamble, guys. Thanks a lot. Because if for somebody that's just listening to this, and I'm just barely past the introductory phase, because I have not tried psychedelics other than a very brief introduction with some microdosing of psilocybin that I ordered here a few months ago. Ryan was really the first individual that I ever talked to that had an experience. And I remember, Ryan, when you were telling me, we were at the Veterans Center, I was so dialed into what you were saying because I couldn't believe what you were saying, but I knew you weren't lying to me. And I just had this profound, experience based on your experience. Because I remember you saying, like, dude, I don't know how to explain this. And like, I'm not bullshitting, but this was wild. And that took me just down, I don't know if I went down a rabbit hole just yet, but it definitely piqued my interest. So we covered a lot of ground there. We covered things like ayahuasca. We covered the healing properties, the ceremonies, tobacco. Let's just start with, okay, why should veterans or individuals that have experienced trauma consider doing a psychedelic, I'm going to call it a psychedelic ceremony, but consider doing a ceremony in order to start, like, in my opinion, it's coming back down to neutral, coming back down to their natural state. And I'll throw that to you, Carlos. So what is it about it that ancestrally has been so important for the culture to ensure that individuals do these ceremonies? And then why are we starting to see it getting reintegrated into our society now?
Mm-hmm. Thank you, Dave. So first, before I forget, I also wanted to let you know that at the end of Operation Purify, there's a 30-day live integration process where via Zoom we have weekly meetings to follow up to make sure, like Ryan was saying, that you're integrating not just the medicine but the lifestyle that it affords you, the opportunity to, like you said, to come back to center and to make sure that you're grounding well and that you're processing it well. And then we have a Telegram group that gets opened up. So there's a community that gets created as the program expands and more veterans go through the program. That Telegram group, that brotherhood group grows. And then we have plans for other future non-plant related gatherings. It's to create community. Right? I want to.
It's a sisterhood too. Don't forget the sisters.
That right. That's why I didn't want to say. That's why I didn't use the word brotherhood, because it's a fraternity. It's fraternal. It's creating a family, right? Of people that have shared not just the experience of military, but the experience of healing from their trauma through plant medicine. So the question of why. Well, so there's I love it when people say science discovered. No, science caught up to a 5,000-year-old culture. So there's this term called neuroplasticity, which basically means the rewiring of the brain. And so when you have trauma, the wires in the brain change, or when you're trained to have a specific reaction, like a combat kill kind of reaction, your brain gets wired for that, right? And then also, for example, we see, veterans when they're removed from their tribe, right? When they're extracted from that bond that's created in the military, there's a break that typically happens. It's very common because there's there's an absence now of that, because we are tribal, right? Humans are naturally pack animals, and so when you experience that beauty of having a unit, and then you're taken away from it, so much of your purpose is robbed, and that creates so much pain in the brain and in the heart. You compound that with the pains that you've already experienced from childhood, adolescence, right? And you have, basically what we have now, right? A huge deficit in the care for the mental health of our veterans. So ayahuasca literally rewires the brain. That's proven science. You can look it up on Dr. Google. So it's neural.
I
So
hear
it's
he's pretty good.
neuroplasticity. Yeah, yeah, knows everything. So on that aspect, right? On a very just basic level aspect, it's literally rewiring the brain with new neural links to produce a higher quality of thought. Okay, because thoughts really dictate everything, right? Everything is happening in our mind, right? The two people can experience the same event and have completely different perceptions of it and receive it in a completely different way. Ayahuasca allows you to tune in mentally to the higher perceptions of an experience. So where things are seen as losses, now you can see what's the potential gain, what's the potential upside, how is this for me? Then there's the aspect of mind, body, soul, because this is a spiritual plant and it has an essence that has, as the culture says, it witnessed creation. So it knows the story of humanity. And so Yahe very specifically is a purgative. It purges the body of, as if you've heard of this book, Brian's a big fan of it, The Body Keeps the Score. There's trapped memories inside the body, like literally in your body, in your muscle, in your blood, in your bones. And the Yahe literally strips those negative memories out. It's like, so that your energy lines are full of gunk, right? These negative impacts. And the Yahe strips that out of the body. It rewires the mind. It literally rewires the pineal gland. And then for the spirit, when there's an absence of spirit, there's a disconnection from creation, from nature, as Ryan was saying. There's a disconnection between me and my God. If there's a God, how could the world be so horrible? How could those things have happened to me? That's a very natural response. All that trauma is healed. So you have everything from my mommy issues being healed, my daddy issues being healed, my inner child being reconnecting to that child that is me inside. And so what happens is, especially veterans that have families, because of the impact of military service, there's a disconnect in their ability to reach out to their children, to hug their children, to express love to their spouses. And so ayahuasca changes all that. It rebirths that inner child where they find that joy again. And then they're able to express that joy towards themselves first and towards their family. So I would say, in short, Dave, the reason why you want to drink ayahuasca is to get better so you can live great. I make that the slogan.
T-shirt. Wow. Okay,
Yeah.
that was a great description. Now, what's the difference between ayahuasca and hepe? Did I pronounce that right? Is there a difference? Like, is it just terminology, or is it two
Yahe?
different strands? Or Yahe? Sorry, not hepe. Yahe. Yeah. Is there a difference there?
Go ahead, Ryan.
No. He was asking. He said hepe, but I was saying I was using hepe before. But is there a difference between Yahe and ayahuasca?
That's the question. Okay, I got it. Copy that. So yes and no, in the sense that the grandparents of the cultures teach. So ayahuasca is a very general term. This is a plant medicine technology. It's a 5,000-year-old culture that is born in the Amazon, just like the practice of yoga was born in India. Okay, it's a spiritual science for the vehicle that's the mind, body, spirit. Different cultures in the Amazon have there's different ways of preparing it, but there's typically two main ingredients: the kapi vine, and then the leaf that contains the DMT, which is either chacruna or chagropanga. Okay, so chacruna is typically found in Brazil, Peru, and some parts of Ecuador. Chagro is found in Colombia and some parts of Ecuador. And then chacruna is also found in some parts of Venezuela. And then some tribes add different components a little bit. Yahe is just the vine and the leaf. Now, for example, some parts of Brazil, they call it uni. In other parts, they call it ambihuasca, ayahuasca, yahe, capi. And so different tribes have different names for it. The elders teach that no matter which of these plant medicines you're drinking, if when it's vine and leaf, in the context that we're speaking of, they're just different trails up the same mountainhead, right? And they all bring you to the same point, just on a different side of the mountain. Specifically, yahe in the world of this plant medicine is considered to be the strongest of all the plant medicines in the ayahuasca world. And there's reasons for that. There's something about the earth in Colombia that produces a very strong vine and a very strong leaf. Many other cultures, they drink 10, 15 cups. Their ceremony is only a couple of hours, and they're very valid, and they're excellent, and they're beautiful. Yahe, you drink 1 or 2 cups, and your journey is 8, 10, and 12 hours. It can be even a little longer. But what happens is there's a death to all the trauma. There's a death to all the compounded stresses and pains that you've accumulated through your life. There's an unburdening of your soul, an unburdening of the pains of the body, and a liberation of the mind from the mental prisons that we create for ourselves through the way that we perceive life and connect to life. Mm-hmm. And so that's pretty much the differences, and then there's differences in the technology of which how the ceremony is applied, right? Because everything is energy, frequency, and vibration, and that's what we work with. That's all we work with. So different tribes have different ways of managing the energy and the frequency, and that changes from region to region.
So cool. I mean, you're talking about energies and frequencies. That's my new jam. That's all I research when I have like 20, 30 minutes to go on YouTube and like read books, and just this whole idea that
that's all there is.
We're energetic, right? And we say it colloquially, like, hey man, you're giving us some good energy. But there is literally an energy that it resides within us. We have a frequency. And so what you're explaining at face value, somebody that's brand new to this, doesn't know anything, this sounds amazing. It's like, sign me up. Where do I go do my ceremony? And then boom, I'll be good. But I've never done it, but I do know there's work that needs to be done. And Ryan, I want to throw this over to you. There is not just hey, let's have a few sips and, all my trauma is gone. There's work that needs to be done. So could you explain that work that needs to get done so that you can start getting over to the other side, so that folks just don't think it's have a cup of tea and, hey, I'm good to go for the rest of my life?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's that, everyone's looking for the magic pill.
Quick fix. Yeah.
That's why I call all medication a supplement when it comes to that, because, it's certainly, the experience of all the medicine has been very positive for me in Yahe culture. And it's not only the culture, like don't, because again, we get focused on, the medicine, right? Like and the plants and you doing this, but understand too, that the culture that surrounds it is just very kind and loving and gentle. And you just feel like you're just walking into a space where you're fully supported, and you can just let go of a lot of your stuff, right? And what I would say to anyone listening, that all of the stuff that we're about to talk about, the stuff that Carlos talked about, the stuff that I talk about, is designed for you to have an encounter with yourself, right? And you have to, in order to do that, you have to take some old armor off, and you got to put some new armor on. And your new armor are things like exercise, nutrition, sleep, schedule, gratitude, prayer, walks in nature, reconnecting with nature. Everything, every day and every part of your life actually starts turning into a ceremony. And when you start thinking about it that way, that it's a ceremony, it's just less choppy. It's like, oh, this is cool. My morning routine's a ceremony. You kind of give this light to it. But even something as simple as, one of the things that hit me right off the bat, when we were first started working with Carlos and Rick in the Savage Encounter group, was Carlos did a YouTube presentation with John, Freddie, and Rick, and what hit me right away, and it's my term, immediate action, but basically, they don't use the words trigger. They use the words the disturbance that comes from within, and that your immediate reaction to that is silence. And I was like, yeah, that would probably have saved my ass a few times. But to practice that, to do that from emotional reaction when you're so used to fixing bayonets and doing things like type A, we got to get this done. Go, like you're always reacting. To come back and to be in silence for most veterans is their new scariest thing. It's a horror show to even say something like you have to come into silence. Well, how do you come into how? Well, that's what this program teaches you. They're teaching you to have an encounter with yourself. They're teaching you to come into silence. How do you come into silence? You have to practice it. There's so many people that say, I can't meditate. I just can't do it. Okay. How about you go take a cold tub and then sit down for 5 minutes, or you go exercise. And then at the end of your exercise, you sit on the bench for 5 minutes and you catch your breath. Well, that's a meditation, right? And the more that you can learn to come into that silence, what comes with meditation, breathing, right? You got to get your breath underneath you. You got to relax. You've got to control those out of control thoughts, and that's going to prepare you for your experience with Yahe. Okay. It's going to, when you're in the depths and you've gone into the darkest places, what saves you is, Carlos said to me while he was holding my hand while I was curled up in the fetal position, find your breath and you'll find your God. Find your breath, find your God. I remember him saying that. And then as soon as I went back into myself, because I was out of body, I was out here somewhere, which a lot of us as veterans have lived there. We're living out there. Oh, heaven's out there. Oh, like everything's out there. Oh, if I get up in the morning and I do this and I do all these things, then I'll be fine. But we're not consistently having that silence and that encounter with ourselves. And it's in those encounters with yourself, like I talked about earlier, where under not only under Yahe, but absolutely under Yahe, I got answers. I got answers because the medicine showed me my bullshit. Didn't tell it to me. It showed me, like, here it is. Oh, and I could feel it, literally feel it. I could feel what was happening. I could feel the darkness, but it also, the culture taught me that, well, that's the way to grace, is through that darkness. So find a way to get through it, because the medicine also showed me grace, but showed me so I could feel it through every cell in my body. Like, to feel my mother's love in that ceremony through every cell in my body. And after the ceremony, I think I'm going to be okay. If I can call that love up, and that love comes to me in my basement almost every day while I'm meditating, because I'm going in and Carlos can, talk this a little more, but it's like, yeah, the Yahe is still working. It's still, because I'm honoring the plant now. I'm using the plants with respect. I'm setting my intention when I do my plant bath. You came over to my house, Dave, one day. We sat and we did a little ceremony with a bit of, just a little bit. That got us talking, hey, bro? Like we were rolling, we had a good chat, like it. And it's like, it's
it helps you get out of your own way.
Yeah, it removed a lot of that old armors. Yeah,
you did say something though that definitely scares the shit out of me: the encounter with yourself.
Yeah.
Ooh, oh boy, I do a lot. I do a lot to kind of stay at arm's length, right? Because I don't know if that's just a veteran thing. I think that's pretty standard across the board for most guys. It's like, I don't know if I want to get in there, maybe dabble, but then just, okay, I can back out, right? With, big emotions. But what you're saying here sounds like it's not just an emotional experience. You're talking every cell in your body. I don't know what that feels like. I don't think I've ever experienced that. So like to hear what you're saying and not have the experience makes me really curious, but also petrified at the same time. So then my next question is, can somebody do the ceremony? Like, you're in it, you're physically, but can you have still such a strong resistance to letting go? Because it seems like there has to be just that letting go and just allowing the medicine to do what it has to do, so that you actually go through it and not try to avoid the things that it's trying to show you. Is that something that some people might struggle with, and then they might have to, maybe do it again? What's the process on that? What do people typically do?
You want me to take that, Ryan? You got it.
Yeah.
So the grandparents teach that if your heart's not open, you can come. So first, I want to establish something, that the ceremony of Yahe is a preparation to experience life as a ritual and ceremony, so that your life isn't without a true north and without an anchor. So you're rooted into the earth and growing towards the sky, as the grandparents say. But in order to have that miracle, because it is a miracle to especially in today's world when there's so much distraction and so much veil over what the true value of life is, to encounter that is a miracle. It's an opportunity. Your heart has to be open. Now, you can come to Yahe, let's say with a calloused heart, but the desire for those calluses to be softened and for the essence of your heart to be expressed and be connected. But the desire is there. But if there's not a willingness to transform, to change, to take, as Ryan was explaining, everything that you receive from the ceremony and put it into your life, then the grandparents say nothing happened. God herself could come and drink tea with you in a Yahe ceremony, and because you choose not to change, nothing will change. So there has to be a willingness of the self to receive that gift. It's like, you want to give me a Lambo, Dave. No, I mean, you want to give me a Lambo, Dave. Right? But I don't want it. No, I'm not interested.
Okay.
Then nothing
Sure.
happens. Yeah.
It's there's a lot of agency there. It's not passive. There has to be some active agency where it's like, this is something that I need, that I want, that I will actively pursue and see where it takes me. There's some things ring of like stoicism, where it's like, hey, there's a thing that I got to go through, that I hear, and then there's a lot of elements of Christian, so there's a lot of elements of just like giving yourself to God in there as well. So, which tells me that there's a universal amongst humans. There's a universal truth, and through the plant medicine, there seems to be like, and this is only because of the conversation I have with Ryan. There's a connection with God that happens, and however you see God, whatever your interpretation of God is, it's that manifestation that comes to you, and there's no other way to describe it. And that's what stuck with me the most with Ryan's conversation. It was like, holy shit balls. Like, dude, what you're explaining, like, that kind of puts things in context from what I know from the Bible and like what I used to do in Sunday school. I'm like, is this what religion was about? And they're trying to convey to us? I don't know if you can speak to that, but that's just my curious brain going off on a tangent. Like, holy shit, maybe this is, like, when we talk about like, seeing God and like becoming, like, like relinquishing your resistance to God, whatever you want to call it. This is what it is. This is what allows you to do it. Am I like way off in left field on that one?
I mean, in my experience, no, I don't think you are. I mean, one of the reasons I like this culture so much is they tend to start the ceremonies a bit later, and they kind of end when the sun's coming up. And I don't know how many times, every time that sun's coming up, it's just every time I get this connection with creation, that I'm part of something that's just bigger than myself. God, Yahweh, Gitchi Manitou, like whatever you want to call that. And it was so powerful to me in my experience with this culture that it was nameless,
Right.
but I knew what it was.
That's fascinating. That's really interesting.
But the connection, I just can't downplay enough the significance of the connection with nature. Like I didn't get it. Like, why are we doing these baths? Why? Like, I didn't get it until it all came together there to say, like, hey, we're all part of this. We're all part of this together. I'm part of this plant. I'm part of this tree. We're all part of creation, And again, we can sit here and explain it all you want, but it was shown to me, and I felt it through every cell. I felt it. And that's it's like a good writer is going to show you. He's not going to tell you each individual. He's going to paint a scene,
right.
And then you see that scene, and to me that's the scene it painted for me, amongst other things. But
this is extremely fascinating stuff, and I know we're only just scratching the surface. And I was just talking to Carlos just before we went online here about, after the conversation me and you had, Ryan, I went down to the States a few months later for a conference, a military influencer conference. I didn't know what to expect. I definitely didn't expect having 5 or 6 different conversations with different veterans about their experience with ayahuasca, psychedelics, and having the best healing experience of their lives. Just because I was under the impression that maybe the culture is just a little bit too conservative, they wouldn't go down that route. But Carlos, you said something interesting. It's like, well, when you're desperate, when you don't know where else to turn, this is going to be something that you're going to be open to.
Brother, it's the scene from Officer and a Gentleman when Lou Gossett Jr. is writing. The dude, what's his name? The guy from Pretty Woman,
Richard Gere.
Richard Gere, and you got to, I'm writing you out. You're quitting. He's like, no, don't do that. Why not? I've got nowhere else to go. And you just come to a place in your life, military or not, when you've experienced enough of the beauty of the fucked upness of life, that you've got nowhere else to go. And I just want to say one thing, Dave, that the Yahe culture is a culture. It extends beyond the concept of religion. We welcome all religions. We have people that are Christians that come to us. We have Mormons that come drink with us. And Christians, 31 flavors, right? Everything from Baptists to Catholics to Lutherans to Pentecostals. We have Jewish people that come drink with us. A lot of Jews and a lot of Mormons actually come drink with us. So we have people from the Hindu faith that come drink with us. We've had a few Muslims that are a little bit more open with the protocols of their religion that also come drink with us. And as Ryan is saying, it's a supplement to your life, right? No matter what your path is, whatever your commitment to God or your religious practice is, this is natural. It is a vine. It is a leaf that's boiled in water. The prayers that we offer are prayers of divinity, prayers of celestial forces, prayers to the Creator, to the Divine Mother, prayers to the love of nature. It's not that we pray to the sun, but we express gratitude. The sun is the source of life on earth, and we express gratitude to the Creator for giving us the sun, for the water, for the earth, for giving us an opportunity. As humanity, we have lost so much contact with our ancestors, and it gives us an opportunity to reconnect with our ancestors and stand in life as a ceremony.
It's fascinating. That's fascinating. It's definitely something that piques my interest, and I know Ryan's been the biggest promoter for me to come down to Colombia. But for a listener who's really intrigued now, where do they start getting the information so that they can start doing the research? And then if they're like, hey, this might be something that would be really beneficial to me, how do veterans start getting involved with Purify?
we have a website, operationpurify.com. They can go there. There's quite a bit of information on there, and then they can book a call with me, and we can talk through whatever questions they have. I've actually already had 1, 2, 3. The website went up last week, Carlos, and
Yes,
I've had
sir.
like six conversations already with veterans.
Oh, wow.
With reference to it's and there's another one tomorrow at noon. So it's there's and it's not really. I mean, I'm promoting it through Instagram. We have an Instagram page. I didn't want to throw it all like it's a lot to manage, right? When you know what it's like, right?
I
Throwing
know.
that stuff all over the place. Yeah.
Yeah.
But some of the veterans that I'm actually in the Unstoppable Man group with, and maybe you can put a plug in for that too, Carlos. They're veterans, and I've already spoken to them, and the beauty of it is, underneath all their pain and their struggles, there's just talent.
Mm-hmm.
I'm talking to some of these people. I'm like, you do what? Like talent, and now. And I'm like, well, do you want to maybe help me with this Operation Purify, like with the, and they're all, we mean help, yeah, like because I'm like, you're here to help me just as much as I'm here to help you, and to tell them that, listen, we love you, you're loved, you're part of a group now, we'll never let you go, and just saying those words to some of these guys. I'm saying guys, but I mean, there's a girl that I've been talking to about it as well. And just to say those words, they're like, oh, I miss that, man. Like, shit, I miss having that, So, I mean, there's a reason why we chose 15. It's a section squad size. It's manageable. It's a good size. And when they create that Telegram group after, which I have experience with Savage Encounter and the Unstoppable Man, I mean, it just keeps going. And when someone's not, contributing, someone's going to reach out to them and say, hey, is everything good? It's you're back to being part of that. It's
Tribe.
like being a tribe. There you go. That's enough said right there.
Yeah, that's great, man. So it's oppurify.com. So we'll make sure we have the link
Operation.
there.
Operation.
Okay, so operationpurify.com. Okay, it's all spelled out. Okay, cool. So we'll definitely have that link there for folks that connect with you, Ryan. And is it Canadian and American veterans? There's no, it doesn't matter.
Veteran.
No, just veteran.
Veteran.
Okay, that's awesome.
In fact, someone just sent it to a Brit sniper that I know.
Right on.
Yeah, he's again. It's and I guess I'll speak to this too. There's the things that come up a lot. I've never seen combat. Right? I served, but I didn't see combat, so I'm not worthy. I shouldn't go to this.
I'm not a real veteran narrative, right?
Stop. Yeah. Stop. Right. Stop right there. You joined. You signed on the dotted line. That's it. That's all we need to hear. Because what we're also addressing is the institutional trauma. That the institution of the military is like a big bucket of water, right? Everyone puts when you join, you put your hand in, and the water forms around you, and you're all part of it, right? Sometimes the water gets cold, sometimes it gets hot, sometimes it burns you, but eventually, when you leave, you pull your hand out. Well, the water's just water. The water keeps just doing what water does, and the military just keeps doing what it does. They're getting better at transition, they are, but it's understanding that. There's that wound. There's that wound of going back into society and going, what? Like, I don't know about you, bro. When I got back from Afghanistan, I was like, what's going on here, man? What's everyone doing? Like, right? It's like, so I really believe one of the selling points to this, you've got, cultural trauma as well. You've got, think of, one of the folks that we're working with, African American. I mean, he's also experienced racism in his own culture, the culture that he's gone and served with. So there's all this institutional traumas, and I firmly believe that extracting from that and going to Colombia and getting out, plus the fact that you're drinking in where it's created, where it's from, where the lineage is from. I think that's something that's not addressed enough. It's a huge shot. Well, Carlos brought it up earlier. When you leave your tribe, it's like you feel naked again. It's like, and people don't understand you, and so there's that turmoil there. So having that conversations, on top of all that's important. and to recognize all the other traumas that come with you when you join. You know, folks are unfortunately sexually assaulted before they join, or they're physically abused, right? Then they join, and they've got all that other trauma that they see, either, you know, whether you've seen combat or not, you're part of that institution. And when you're done, you're trying to sit and talk to a psychologist, and they're like, "So what's wrong?" You're like, "Fuck, I don't know. Take your pick, right? Was it my childhood? Was it when I was a teenager? Was it when I was in the military? Was like, I don't fucking know anymore, right?" And so you put on more armor, the fuck you armor, right? Everyone, the hell with you. Then the vet goes through the pharmaceutical phase and the psychologist, and none of that, and nothing's working. And the vets that we're addressing, okay, the stats on homeless veterans are pretty clear. They serve 1 or 2 years normally 15 years ago, and then they've got other issues. They're still veterans. I'm not saying they're not veterans, okay? They're still veterans, and they still deserve to be treated with respect and dignity. But the majority of the people we're dealing with, they're walking on thin ice every day. They're functioning, but they're one day away from it all falling apart, all coming to a crashing halt, right? So there's them, and then some of those guys or girls, they go off and they isolate. They're the ones that go off into the woods, and thank God they don't commit suicide, because, you know, they're still here with us, but they go off and isolate for 2 years. And then now they're like, oh shit, I've got to get back into society. But everything that they were doing before hasn't been healed. So now the relationships are burned. They don't know who to turn to. They don't know, hey, come to us, right? We'll be your family for you. We'll help you integrate. We'll give you a task and a purpose again. And we'll love you with all of our heart and all of our soul.
I love that, man. It's a powerful message, because I truly believe, just as a society, we're relatively sick. And then on top of that, you compound issues with the lack of ability to associate with your tribe after coming back from war or being a veteran. And you're just creating this toxic soup for mental illness and not knowing how to fix it. Because, you know, you can go down, like you said, the pharmaceutical route. You can do the therapy. You can do kind of all the things that, well, why aren't I getting better? And I can only imagine how frustrating it must be for some veterans. It's like, fuck, I'm doing everything and I'm not getting better. And then you just get to the end of the line, right? And this is why the podcast exists, to be able to be a conduit, because this is not on the mainstream. Well, yet, anyways. And Carlos, I'd like to know what your final thoughts would be on this Operation Purify being a powerful conduit to healing for the veteran community.
Yes, I agree.
Awesome. That's a wrap.
Yeah, no, absolutely, brother. Listen, you know, I want to emphasize that, as Ryan has stated several times now, because, you know, the warrior, right? The warrior, and as men, because the three of us here are men, right? It is our duty to safeguard our women, and so there's an obvious impact on the feminine through the experience of military service. So we want to make it really clear that Operation Purify is for both men and women veterans. You know, your sexual orientation doesn't matter. Your gender doesn't matter. It only matters that you were a veteran somewhere at some point in time, and that you're ready to come home from that experience, that you're ready to let that go and you're ready to heal. And so Operation Purify is for you. You know, check it out, operationpurify.com. Talk to Ryan. It's just a phone call, right? There's no commitment. There's nothing to it. What I would say is don't go down a rabbit hole on the internet researching ayahuasca. And hey, there's so much taboo. There's so much bullshit out there. You know, the best thing to do is get it straight from the horse's mouth. Speak to Ryan, and then, you know, what could be next? What's the potential? What's the opportunity? If you need to speak to myself, you know, Ryan will coordinate that, and the three of us will get on the phone, Ryan, myself, and you at home listening to this right now, and we'll see how this can support you. You know, maybe it's for you right now. Maybe it's something that you want to explore 6 months from now. But either way, reach out now. Now is the time to take action while it's still fresh in your mind, because statistically we know that anything we put off after 24 hours, the possibility of doing it drops ridiculously by 50%. And, you know, you're down to like 0% after 7 days of having a thought that you took no action on.
Right. Right.
Yeah, and the first thing that most of a lot of guys I talk to say they're worried about the money off. Don't worry about the money off the top. Like, yes, it's important. I think you should invest in your health. Okay, I think it's important that you lay something on the line for that. But we also have developed a charity, and we're raising money to try to lower the costs on this for veterans.
There's no try. We're doing it for sure, Ryan. Like,
yeah,
you know.
there you go. See, that's
it's called
Master Yoda has spoken.
You know, it's heaven. We have the Heaven and Earth Ancestral League, and like Ryan said, who doesn't want to be a part of something that says "fucking league" in the name of it, bro? So we have we have Heaven and Earth Ancestral League, which is a nonprofit, a 501c3, and we are actively collecting funds right now for the scholarship program for veterans to join Operation Purify.
Amazing. What are the dates again, fellas?
July 29th to August 12th is the actual, and then back that up 30 days will be the online portion of that.
So this is the inaugural podcast. So that's July 29th, August 12th, 2023. Depending on folks, maybe are listening to this 5 years from now. I'm sure this program is still going to have legs and rocking some more retreats as the years go on.
And
so
you'll be going on your 5th one, brother.
Dude, I can't wait, man. But careful though. Like I have a tendency, like Afghanistan, it was very close. I was like, I'm just going to stay here, man. Like I get sucked into a culture and I will not want to leave. So that's definitely on my bucket list of things to do for sure. And I'm really honored that you guys decided to talk about this program and chat about it on my podcast, because I'm just really happy to be able to spread this message of healing and hope within the community. So fellas, thanks so much for showing up on the podcast, giving up a little bit of your time during your day to chat about your awesome Operation Purify. And we'll chat a little bit offline. But folks, for those of you that are listening, train hard, fight easy. See you on the next one. Peace.